This week, me and G hang out in Manila, get some amazing Filipino food, and share some inspiring words with some future chefs.
But yeah, getting fucked up all the time is part of being a cook. So enjoy.
So the first question about the Philippines in terms of history is, why in the world were the Spanish here? If you look at the modern map, most of all the properties, so to speak, that the Spanish owned are in South America. Why in the world do they have this one single property in the Far East? We are in currently the San Agustin Church. It is the oldest stone church in the country. Back in the 1400s, basically, there were two superpowers in the world. That was Spain and Portugal. And the Pope basically was like their dad. He came in and said, okay boys, stop fighting about controlling the world. Okay, I'll put a line right over here. Everything to the right belongs to Portugal. Everything to the left belongs to Spain. Now, when Portugal found out that Spain was able to find this huge continent, which was South America, they wanted a little bit of piece of that. So the original line that was right around here got moved a little bit. So if you look at modern day South America, everyone speaks Spanish except Brazil. They speak Portuguese. So Portugal got control of Brazil. Now, there was this guy named Ferdinand Magellan. He was basically the first guy credited to circumnavigate the world, and he was Portuguese. And he had this harebrained idea that you could travel to the left and come out in the right. When he pitched that to the Portuguese monarchy, they were like, well, we already got the rights to go to the right side. Why do we want to go to the long route, basically? So he went to Spain, and he pitched it to the Spanish monarchs, and the Spanish were like, well, we really want to go to the right side of the world or right side of the map because everyone wanted to find India for the spices. And they were like, give the dude 5 ships. That's not going to cost us anything. Of those 5 ships, unfortunately, only one went back to Spain, but it was so filled with unimaginable wealth in the form of silks, porcelain, and spices that the Spanish were like, cha-ching, we just found a new, beautiful place to make money from. And that was the Philippines. So, available na po yung lumpia. Okay na. All right, let's go. Well, the thing with the Philippines and our relationship to Spain actually is you wouldn't actually there's barely any response to it. Like there's no bad ill feelings and all that. When people think about Spaniards, most people are like, hey, they brought Christianity to us, and which is a big part of daily Filipino
Right, which
life.
everybody loves, so it's kind of hard to hate on them because they love Catholicism so much.
But not to say that they didn't abuse us of our resources and our people and all that, but generally in modern settings, the fact that we were colonized by Spain for over 300 years, which you would expect to contain a lot of bitterness, doesn't. Right? So our first dish for today is called lumpia.
Great.
So in Filipino, lumpia is basically anything that vaguely reminds you of either a spring roll or an egg roll, as you would know it in the West. So if anything, that when you mention fresh lumpia to most Filipinos, first thing that comes to mind, the ideal filling would be actually heart of palm. So basically, you kill off a whole coconut tree, you hack the head of it, and then you dig into the center of the trunk itself of the head of the coconut tree, and then that meat basically is nice, crisp, mildly sweet, and that's what they use to make fresh lumpia. Here,
Like
lumpia.
lumpia, I think of like a small,
Yes.
small one, but that is big.
That is big, yeah. So how was the lumpia?
So I don't know that much about Filipino food by itself. I know a fair bit about Chinese food. I know a fair bit about Mexican food. Definitely, this reminds me quite a bit of a tortilla. But aside from that, like the peanuts, or is that peanuts?
Peanuts, yeah.
Yeah, the peanuts.
Sugar.
Like a lot of Chinese food, a lot of Asian food has. It's like actually more of a Southeast Asian thing, right?
Yes,
Put peanuts on stuff.
Yep.
So it's an interesting combination. I'm seeing that more and more.
So here are some examples of produce that was introduced to the Philippines. They were never endemic. They were brought here by the Spaniards. So we have corn, I've mentioned that earlier today, peppers, papayas, cocoa, and coffee actually was also brought here to the Philippines. But of course, the most significant one was the sugarcane, which has really impacted us in terms of our cuisine.
Right, and also in terms of what the Spanish wanted to get from you.
Yep.
So that became a sort of the sugar stocks became sort of a, well, it was, you know, it impacted your cuisine in a positive way. It also was like a symbol of sort of like the crushing tyranny of the Spanish.
Correct. Oh, this is sugarcane. This is probably one of the main, what they call that, produce that the Spanish made us grow. The Philippines was basically a one huge sugarcane plantation for 300 plus years.
Alright, salamat.
Salamat po. Thank you.
Alright, so what do I do? It's just gonna...
Yeah, just bite into it. It's a bit tough, but
I mean, do I bite out of it, or I just
oh, no,
suck
just
on it?
suck on it. Chew it. The first bite is a bit scary because you think it might destroy your teeth, but it'll crack. It'll break up like an apple or a harder apple.
But I'm not supposed to bite a piece of it and chew on it. I need to just sort of...
You have to try to chew on it. If it breaks off, like this, I broke off a piece.
So initially, when the Spanish came here,
Uh-huh.
For them, the Philippines was more of a trading post.
Yes.
Like they wanted to use it to trade, take silver from the Americas, bring it over to the Philippines, and then use that to buy Chinese goods
and spices.
and Chinese stuff and Japanese stuff. But this is a trading port because they were trying to get stuff from them.
Yep.
And then they would take it from there, and then they would go back around Africa and then into Spain and bring back the goods.
Correct.
And like aside from a trading port, like the Spanish used the Philippines to like farm cash crops, right? Like sugarcane.
Yes, sugarcane was definitely one of the big ones. The weather is just perfect for sugar growing.
Especially if you have an exploitative encomienda system.
Yep.
And you treat the people like shit and you just work them to fucking death. Then sugar. Sugar is very labor intensive. That's why most of it. That's why most of the places that made it used slave labor.
Yep.
Because that was it's cheaper to threaten people by beating them and killing them than to actually pay them.
Yep.
And so if you need a lot of people to work on something, that was usually what you did was you found a way to not pay people for doing stuff for you. So remember that next time you're putting sugar in your coffee. Sorry for ruining sugar, everyone.
The Philippines also has the notable distinction of being the U.S.'s major effort to dip its toes into joining the club of colonial powers.
This is like a colonial style place, though, right?
Yeah, mid-century.
Mid-century, so like
1946, right after the war.
right after the war. So this is an American style place, or what?
Well, it is an American style place, but it's a little bit tropicalized because it's also a Filipino house.
Okay.
Most Filipino house traditionally built off of the ground on posts. And if you
Weird thing, like as an American, thinking about like we actually did have a colony for a short period of time, and however that was because we wanted to like join the big colony, the big scramble for colonies.
You know, it was the explosion of the USS Maine kind of made the US see an opportunity to go to war against Spain, which was a declining power. The US was a rising power. They went to war against Spain and handily won and came away with Guam, the Philippines, Cuba, and Puerto Rico.
Wait, you got a drink? Damn it, I need to get my drink.
So all of these 8 people in here are all on scholarships to a culinary school in Manila. They're all from Mindanao.
Wait, what? They're going to culinary school? I want to chat to them about that. Because generally speaking, that's what I went to. I went to the French Culinary Institute in New York, and it was all French chefs, and they yelled at me every day, and they told me that I was a piece of garbage. It's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot of stuff. But like when you go to culinary school, you learn a little bit about everything.
I feel bad for drinking earlier in the day.
But yeah, getting fucked up all the time is part of being a cook. So enjoy. So where are you from?
I'm from Manila.
What is the name of this? Oh, we're starting out with the famous adobo. Woo! Good save. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sure he'd be freaking thrilled. I first just saw the bottle and I was like, oh, that looks like an absolute bottle, but I didn't see the label. And then I saw, like those. It
is an absolute bottle.
Taking two of those bottles of absolute, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, that's not even a joke.
I want to be downstairs.
I'm gonna go hang out with those guys.
That's amazing, yeah.
Listen, Vietnamese food was really popular last year, but I'm sure like
It's run its course.
it's run its course this year.
You like it?
It is amazing.
Where don't you eat the chili gum?
I'm catching up. I want to eat some of this. I want to enjoy the adobo, and then I'm gonna get some of that. Actually, though, can you help me out? Oh, thank you.
Like, if you think of the Philippines and Indonesia and Papua New Guinea and that region, Malaysia, as a singular archipelago, which it really is, what we're talking now is political delineation.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That area was matriarchal prior to colonial arrival here. And these cultures recognized 5 genders.
What were those 5 genders?
Well, the real male men,
Okay.
the feminine men, the real female women, the masculine women, and then the perfect fusion of the two, which would be an excessively feminine woman in a male's body.
After getting some sense of the Philippines before the Spanish, I wanted to learn how it all ended and how it came to affect the indigenous people.
Ferdinand Magellan was able to sail from the Pacific through the Pacific to the Philippines, and then his ship was able to go back to Spain. Unfortunately, Magellan lost his life here in the Philippines when he first landed here.
Talk to the wrong people.
Most people assume that that's what happened, but no. The first tribe that they ever contacted was a relatively small tribe, which welcomed them. They became buddies, so to speak. But this little tribe had an enemy tribe which was bigger, and they were like, "Hey, my new friends who have far more superior weapons, why don't you help me defeat my longtime rival, which is a bigger clan, bigger tribe?" So the Spanish were like, well, it's perfect chance to earn brownie points with the locals. Sure. What's that gonna cost us trying to fight some indigenous force? Unfortunately, they decided to fight in the shallows. So metal armor didn't give you a leg up when you were fighting in the shallows, sand and ocean water and all that. So that's actually where Magellan lost his life, and that's where we basically were introduced to our very first national hero, Lapu-Lapu. So Magellan lost, one of his ships was lost, and through all the adventures, the other ships were lost, and only one was able to make it back home to Spain. But since that ship was so filled with wealth, the Spanish were like, just keep sending more expeditions, until the Philippines was finally, the whole archipelago was conquered by the Spanish.
Kamusta? You speak good Mabuti.
Day old chick.
Day old chick.
Tastes like chicken. That is known as dynamite.
It's gonna be hot.
I tell people it's more of a Filipino roulette. Sometimes you get it real spicy, sometimes you don't. For Westerners, the closest I could describe that to be would be like a jalapeno popper.
Oh man.
So the way it is, it's a local green chili. They just slice it up, and then they add Edam cheese. So it's a very mild cheese, and then sprinkle of sugar, wrap it in rice paper wrapper, and then just deep fry the stuff. These are stuff that you basically started eating in elementary school. Like, especially if your parents were a little bit more how do I say that, protective of you, and they never let you eat street food. This is the kind of stuff that your classmates would peer pressure you into trying. Also, the reason why it's sold in elementary schools, primarily because it's basically the cheapest form of street food. Typically in Western terms, it comes out as a couple of cents per bowl. Sound good?
Man. Sounds great. I'm back in my happy place. Trying different new foods. Yeah, man, like that walk. We were walking forever.
Oh,
St. Mike.
yeah.
I didn't even break. Now
Yep.
we got peppers. We got so what's this one?
That's chicken balls.
Is it chicken testicles or is it a ball of chicken meat?
It's a ball of chicken puree mixed with flour.
Do I dip it in something?
Dip it in this type of sauce.
Are these
This is a little bit spicy, but I doubt it you'll feel the spice.
What's it called?
Chicken ball.
Chicken ball. No, what's the Tagalog name?
That's how we know it. Chicken ball.
Alright.
Yeah. It was created right around the same time that the American education, the free education that I mentioned, was going around. Basically, they found out that if you get meats, proteins, and then you puree them, and then basically you cut them with flour and water, you create a cheap, tasty street food. Yeah, that one.
So what is this?
Kikiam.
What is that?
It's basically like a Chinese flavored sausage.
Oh, it's a sausage. Okay.
So originally it was sausage, and like I said, they do the same thing. Puree it, add flour, becomes a cheap snack.
They puree and they add flour to stretch it.
Yep. It's definitely a distinct taste, right? The one that you taste the most there is the Chinese 5-spice.
And it's does it have seafood in it?
Yes, it's primarily a mixture of pork and fish.
Is it a specific fish?
Random extra fish that you get from the market.
That's right. This is Filipino random fish sausage with Chinese spices.
Yep.
What's in it? Whatever. Okay.
They deep fry it.
It's deep fried whatever sausage.
Yep. Next, let's go to these simpler looking balls. So the one with the basically with the little black spots, that's the chicken ball because they put a lot of pepper in it. This is a squid ball.
Squid balls.
Yeah. So basically, squid puree. Yes. The way it was set up was especially in my time, it was just a big vat of boiling oil, and then the old man would just pour everything there. And the fun thing about it was all floating in the oil, and you would just try to pick up the ones that you wanted, that you thought was cooked enough. Now, even the ones that are still located outside schools, they're a little bit more safer. So they strain it up, they'll just put it in a big metal strainer basket where you can pick the ones that you want.
Kids trying to reach
In the boiling oil, yeah. But yeah, in my youth, that's what we remember. Bobbing for...
yeah, growing up sounds fun.
Yeah. Last thing we have here is we call kwek kwek.
Okay.
So kwek kwek is it's a quail egg dunked in flour, which has been dyed with a local food dye. It comes in a fruit. It has no flavor. It has no scent, but it just dyes everything bright orange. Cheers.
Cheers. It's different.
Right.
I like it.
These stuff, it depends in the area, but you would generally find it in either areas where there are workers or people in university. So even though they're just cheap-ass cuts of meat, it's still meat. So it's definitely costlier than these ones.
So these are just balls of whatever.
Yeah.
That's at least recognizable. You're like, oh, I see what's going on there.
Yep. Next we have this isaw.
There we go.
It's chicken intestine.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah. So it's either The dip for this is either vinegar itself or this mildly sweet sauce. It's one of my personal favorites.
What do I dip it in?
Yes, this one. That would go well with this one. So let's start with this one. We get one each. Take a good long...
Look at it.
Yep. There we go. It's like a puppet. So basically, it's a male day-old chick. So when chickens hatch, thanks to the, funny enough, Japanese, we now are able to sex chickens the moment they're hatched. We already know if it's male or female. The female are all kept. That's for egg laying or meat. The males generally are immediately killed off. And in the West, these little buggers would just be ground up and turned into animal feed, protein source, right? Here in the Philippines, people just basically after they kill them, they get rid of all those nice yellow fluff that you would see in a freshly hatched chick.
Yeah.
And then dye it with the same food dye that the kwek kwek was made with.
Okay.
And then deep fry it. Now, I tell people it tastes straight up like if you were to salt, pepper, and fry a piece of chicken. The weirdest thing though about it is they don't clean the organs out of it. Because remember, it's everything that has come inside an egg and nothing went inside except oxygen, right? Though since it's a fully formed animal, it has a little bit of its bile. So there might be a very mild bitterness in the body. But I would say, first off, try the legs, then the head with the neck. Those are my favorites.
The head and the neck. All right.
Yes.
Do
No,
I
that's,
dip it in anything?
generally people would dip it in vinegar.
All right.
I'm not a fan of just vinegar itself. I like it cooked into a dish, so I just eat it as is.
Okay.
Yeah, cheers.
Tastes like chicken. Probably enough. It looks scarier than it tastes like. It's like chicken.
Yeah. So there, when you eat the body now, it might have a little bit of bitterness, but yeah, it's just part of the savory nature of it. Wash it down with the mango shake.
Next week, me and G discuss Spanish occupation of the Philippines, try some fusion Filipino Chinese dishes, and I learn the secret to maintaining a strong marriage in colonial Philippines.
Family members would be able to use this. Guests and servants would have different outhouses outside of the building.
Also, you're only taking a shit next to your wife.
Yes.
I'm glad we're past that. I even have some damn privacy. I don't have shit next to somebody I have sex with too.
Right?
Gross.